we are side by side,
side by side,
side by side.
So we'll start off with this for my first vlog. So this is the story of my first miscarriage, and how it all began. I'm gonna start with our trying to conceive journey, TTC. Our trying to conceive journey. In April 2021, my husband and I decided that we were ready to start a family. So in April 2021, we finally decided that we are ready to conceive. So the first big step was that I decided to leave the pill. So I stopped using it, and I really enjoyed going off the pill. So many things improved for me. My mood got better, but in general my mental health also picked up as I left the pill. So it was actually a great experience. And then my husband and I decided that we will try to conceive. I started using a tracking app called Ovia to I started using Ovia. It has a great tracking app and it's free, so if anyone wants to check that out, Ovia is great. We really loved it, and started tracking all my symptoms, and at times I felt like I was reading in too much of the symptoms. Like if I just had a bit of a hint of a distaste for something, I thought, oh, I'm pregnant. And every time something happened, I'm like, oh, I think I'm pregnant. And at some stage it becomes too much. Like you try and read into your symptoms and it's just too much. I think when you're trying to conceive, and I know it's harder said than done and some people really struggle, that it's hard to enjoy the journey, because after every negative test it like just gets to you. Anyway, so I used Ovia for both my pregnancies, for my miscarriage, and I have a rainbow baby now. Her name is Hayley. She's with us Earthside, so we had her after my miscarriage. So for both my pregnancies I used Ovia and it was great. It helps you to track your symptoms, to know when is the best time to try and conceive, when your menstrual cycle is due, when you're ovulating, and it's not always 100% correct, it's not, but at least it gives you an indicator of where you are in your cycle and what to expect. And so that was great. Anyway, I'm also reading out of my gratitude journal. I wrote down just my miscarriage journey, just to help me like read about the key points of what I experienced, and I want to talk you through it. So we used the Ovia tracking app, and for 2 months I got negative tests. So I also need to say that I'm very blessed, because I am very fertile. For both my pregnancies I fell pregnant 2.5 months after trying to conceive. So I'm very blessed in that way, and I do realize it, and I know it's not that easy for people and for everyone. But I fell pregnant. It was the beginning of July 2021. I was pregnant, and I couldn't believe when I saw that faint line on the pregnancy test. It was a very faint line, and I was so new to this whole experience that I didn't even know if it was real, if I was really pregnant. Anyway, but to confirm my pregnancy, I then went to one of our testing labs here in South Africa. We call it Lancet. So I went to Lancet and I had blood works done to confirm if my HCG levels were rising. So I went 2 times, 2 days apart. They usually say within 48 hours your HCG levels have to double or more, but double is a very good indicator that you're having a healthy pregnancy. So I went for my first blood works and my HCG levels looked great, and it indicated that I was about, I can't remember, I think it was between 4 and 5 weeks pregnant. Anyway, so that went well, and then I decided to tell hubby. So I like prepped this little basket with the pregnancy test in it, and I went to one of our general stores that we call Westpac here, and I got like a baby balloon, and I decided I would surprise him, and it was so cute actually, because I kept on, like, I drank so much cold drink that day just to finish it, so he would go to the store to pick up some more cold drink. And I decided, so once he leaves to go and pick up the cold drink, that I would get everything ready to surprise him, to tell him that we're pregnant. Shame. So it was such an experience. Anyway, so he came home and I told him. I'll also share that footage later on in the video with you of how I told him. I'll share that later because we made a tribute video for the baby that we lost. We made a tribute video, so it's all in there. Anyway, and yeah, I was the good, faithful person to schedule my gynae appointment for 8 weeks, because everyone said wait until you get to 8 weeks and then you schedule your appointment. So I waited until 8 weeks. Yeah, I think I was 4 weeks pregnant when I made that appointment. And then at 6 weeks, I was 6 weeks pregnant, and I had this vivid dream of going to my baby's room, and it was so beautiful. It was a boy, and his room was so beautiful, and he had this beautiful wooden cot bed, and and he was lying in it, and he had the most beautiful smile, and he was like making googling noises. Yeah, so he was making like the cutest sounds, and he was beautiful. He had blue eyes. I had such a vivid dream, and it felt so real. And I'll tell you why this is relevant. It was so vivid. Anyway, yeah, that dream was so special. Anyway, so at 8 weeks, we had our gynae appointment. And as we were sitting in that waiting room, I just had this feeling that we will not be seeing a heartbeat on that scan. I just had a feeling. So I told my husband, so listen, we're going in for the scan now. We might be seeing our little baby, but there's also a possibility that there won't be a heartbeat. I don't know how I knew. It's like, call it mother's instinct. I just knew that we might not be seeing a heartbeat, and we didn't see a heartbeat. So as we entered the gynae's room, I just knew that we won't be seeing a heartbeat. So we went into the room, and it wasn't my first time with this gynae. I've been with him before, and so he just asked general questions about, seems like in my pregnancies I don't get any symptoms, or not heavy symptoms like extreme nausea, well, I had fatigue. I can't lie about that. But I had no extreme food aversions. So anyways, but in this pregnancy, didn't have any symptoms. I was feeling fine, just very tired. Anyways, so then they did their normal checks, like they take your weight, and then he started with the scan. And it was such a beautiful scan, seeing our baby. But as he did the scan, he said, wow, that's a perfect little fetus for 6 weeks and 3 days. So our baby measured 6 weeks and 3 days. And it didn't make sense to me because I was so on this tracking, so with Ovia, I knew exactly how far along I was. So our timelines didn't match up. So I said to the doctor, this doesn't make sense. And he kept on saying that maybe I ovulated a bit later than what I was aware. And I was like, no, I was tracking it. I knew exactly. But with all my research of trying to conceive, I also did a lot of research into miscarriages, your types of miscarriages. That's just the person I am. I love researching and knowing what I'm in for. And the moment when the doctor said, your baby is measuring 6 weeks and 3 days, I just knew that I was having a miscarriage. I didn't want to believe it, but I knew in my heart, and I just broke down because I knew what was happening. Anyway, but the doctor was and always is an optimist. He is one of the best, and I can honestly say that I wouldn't have picked any other doctor to be with. So we then went back to his desk and we started talking, and we decided to schedule another appointment with him for 9 days later to see if the baby might have grown and if we can pick up a heartbeat then. So we scheduled it for 9 days later, and it felt so wrong, and I kept on thinking, can't we do something so long for my baby to help my baby grow? Isn't there anything? And there wasn't. I mean, it's so early in the pregnancy and there's nothing they can do. So anyway, a couple of days after this initial appointment, it was my hubby and I's wedding anniversary. So we went away for our anniversary. So every year for our anniversary, I try and book us a getaway, just so we can get away and do some fun things. So we went on this trip, but it was also kind of somber because we weren't sure what was happening to our baby and if our baby is doing okay. But we still try to enjoy our trip. I'll share a picture with you on our trip that we took of our initial scan with our baby on this trip. It's a beautiful photo. So we just tried and enjoyed it. And then when we got back, it was time for our second appointment. We did the same routine with this doctor. You always start out sitting down, discussing your last menstrual cycle, how you're feeling, and then usually you go through to his consultation room where he does his scans. So we went through, and our baby unfortunately still measured 6 weeks and 3 days. Our baby still measured 6 weeks and 3 days, and I remember as I was sitting there, I just knew. I just knew that it was then. definitely a missed miscarriage. And just knew. And sometimes I wish I didn't do all the research I did, so I could just be so optimistic and just believe that eventually our baby will grow. But at that stage I was already 9.5 weeks pregnant, or supposed to be, and my uterus kept on growing, but our baby didn't. I just knew. Anyway, so after that we were sent to radiology, where they also needed to do some more scans to confirm that our baby did indeed pass away. So we went to radiology. They made me drink lots of water so I could get a full bladder. They made us wait an hour or two, where we waited at radiology, eventually our time came to go in to see the radiologist, and the lady was trying to be so professional, and she was just trying to do her job, but she could see that I wasn't in a good space and that I was crying. And I remember her trying to comfort me and telling me that everything will be okay. And as she did the scan, she's like, "I'm so sorry, but your baby does measure 6 weeks and 3 days." And I just kept on telling her, can't be, our baby should be 9.5 weeks now. So her scans also confirmed that our baby did indeed pass away. There was no heartbeat. And then I remember walking out of there, and I just kept it together. And as soon as I reached the hallway, we were barely out of the radiology department, and we reached the hallway and I just broke down and cried. I was absolutely losing it in the hall, and I was just crying because my baby passed away, and there's like so much love and so much connection that you already have with this baby, and now you just know that they won't be joining you earthside, and that they have gone to heaven. And that was the hardest thing to know, is that I won't be meeting this baby on earth. Sorry, I have my tissues. So we went back to the gynae, and he was waiting on the results from the radiologist, and so we sat there, and he was just talking to us that this is very normal for women to experience a miscarriage, especially if it's your first pregnancy. He said it's basically your body doing a practice run of pregnancy and not always getting it right. But it didn't feel normal to me. How will losing a baby feel? We had 3 options basically, and that was either we could wait for my body to realize that the baby had passed, and that we would then go through a natural miscarriage. The second option was to take pills that will bring on contractions, that will then also let your baby pass naturally, well, not naturally, but with pills, but also let your baby be removed from your body via miscarriage, but that was brought on by pills. I can't remember what the pills' names were. And then the third option was a DNC. We decided to go with the DNC for the reason that my baby was already gone and passed for a month, and my body hasn't yet realized that my baby has passed. So we decided to do the DNC. It was also a better option for us because I'm still working. I'm a working mom now. At that stage I was just a career woman, and I didn't want to leave it up to chance to go back to work and then have a miscarriage at work. I wanted to have control over the situation, in a sense that I did the DNC and I would know when it would happen, how it would happen, and just under our terms. Yeah, so we decided to get a DNC. So 2 days after learning the final news that my baby has passed, I went in for the DNC. And it was so tough because it was still in COVID times. So my husband wasn't allowed in the hospital with me. He wasn't allowed to go into theatre with me or to be in the ward with me. So it was so difficult because I remember that morning he dropped me there and he walked me as far as he could until security stopped him and said that he's not allowed in. So he walked with me, and then I went into the ward that I was scheduled to go into. So I went in there and the nurses greeted me, and then they started prepping me, and I got my bed. It wasn't in a private room. We were probably 6 people in that room, but luckily they didn't put me in the maternity ward. I think that would have shattered me. They put me in a normal ward to know that you are going in with a baby in your belly, and when you come out, your baby will not be in your belly anymore. That was so difficult knowing that. Yeah, and I still have so much trauma from that whole experience. I think the worst for me was that they didn't call it removal of a baby or something, I don't know. It just felt so wrong because they kept on calling it an evacuation of the uterus. And I remember feeling that's so impersonal, that how can you call it an evacuation of the uterus? I know that's what they should do, and it was even written on my wristband. And I kept on thinking, how can you call it that? That's a baby that you're removing, and even if the baby is not alive anymore, it's still a baby. It was so difficult. I remember just crying. Anyway, eventually they took me into theatre, and I remember them putting the mask on me, and my gynae was there, and he was like, okay, you're gonna start feeling drowsy in like a couple of seconds. And I remember just crying, like the tears rolled down my face as I was falling asleep, because I knew once I wake up, my baby is not gonna be in my belly anymore. So as I woke up in recovery, and there was this lovely nurse standing by me, and as I woke up, she just started hugging me. She just held me, And I remember I was so in a daze that I couldn't understand why this nurse is hugging me. And it took me a couple of seconds to realize that my baby is now gone. And this nurse, she just held me and held me, and I cried. And I think it was probably 10 minutes of her holding me. And eventually she said, "Honey, I am so sorry for your loss." And I said to her, "Thank you for acknowledging my baby and for speaking to me like I'm a human being with feelings." I said to her, "Thank you for acknowledging me." And she prayed with me. And eventually they wheeled me out of recovery. On that same day as getting my DNC, I was sent home. I could go home, and we just took a couple of days, my husband and we just cried it out. We just stayed home, just tried to process it. It was more difficult for Hannes to talk about it. He like disappeared in the room for a couple of days, and he likes to make videos. So I sent him all the pictures and the videos of my pregnancy, and I asked him to please compile me a video to make a tribute to our baby. So eventually, I think on day 3 or 4, he went and he actually compiled the video of our baby, the pregnancy and everything in our tribute. And it was so nice, and it's still nice to have it, to look at it, to think of my baby. Yeah, so we went through a whole mourning process, but so you'll see in the video that I'll share a bit later, the one which Hannes compiled. But basically we wrote letters to our baby, and we tied it to the baby balloon that I gave him to announce that we were pregnant with the baby. So we tied it to that balloon, and we went into this beautiful field that has this lovely view of our city. So we went there, we read the letters, and then we let the balloon go. And it was just our final goodbye to our baby and our way of mourning. Yeah, it was so beautiful. Anyway, I'm gonna read you the letter that I wrote my baby. It's not long, and I was still mourning then, but it just captured the rawness of it all and how I felt. And I really felt that it was my fault, but I know now, in hindsight, it wasn't. 13 August 2021. I was so impatient. I couldn't wait to hear your heartbeat, to meet you, to hold you. Now I wish I could just improve my patience a little for your sake. Now we must wait for eternity to meet you at the Lord's feet. Maybe there we will hear your heartbeat for the first time. My baby, from the first moment we found out about you, we loved you and began to dream. Your father and I like to think way ahead and dream ahead. That's just who we are. Maybe our dreams were just too big for your little body. I do not know. You were not meant for this cruel world. I will strive to make this world a better place every day, and maybe, just maybe, it will be a little bit better for your little brother or sister who will join us Earthside one day. Baby Jacobs, you changed our lives irrevocably. I will find you at the Lord's feet when I get there. We have faith and still hold fast to Christ and know that everything will happen in His time. Until we meet, love you, your mom.